In today's episode of the Quantum Curious podcast, I have Jannes Stubbemann, the co founder and CEO of Aqora, the modern day quantum equivalent of Hugging Face and Kaggle. In our discussion, we covered the importance of quantum hackathons, how Aqora is helping students, how Aqora can help quantum companies and professionals, the different features that Aqora has, the latest new developments and features at Aqora, and Jannes's vision for quantum computing and Aqora in the near future. Good morning, Jannes. Thank you for making the time to be here today. I'll just dive straight into the questions right now. What was the first spark that interested you to get into quantum computing? How did your journey begin? Can you just let the audience know?
Yeah, sure. And, hi, Kieran, and thanks for inviting me. So, well, I think there's two answers. Like one that was getting me generally interested in kind of technology, and the other that's more specific in quantum computing. As you're asking about quantum computing, so actually it was in 2018 that I discovered like I'm a regular visitor of Hacker News, news.ycombinator.com. And the top news on one day was that Google announced Cirq, their quantum SDK. And that moment I thought, okay, now quantum computing is a real thing. I was reading about it when I was back then in school and deciding for what to study, but understood this was more a theoretical concept back then. And then I thought, okay, no, if Google is doing that, then I think it's serious, so I want to learn about it. And then I decided to finish or like specialize in it in my master's and write my master thesis about it. So yeah, that was really the moment to see this headline of Cirque on Hacker News.
That's an inspiring story. How did you get into building Aqora, and why did the need arise?
hmm So yeah, that's actually also a very good question. And I mean, every startup I think has their own and unique story. So
Mhm.
we have started Aqora. I mean, Aqora as Aqora basically 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But there was a kind of pre-story to this by running in-person hackathons.
Mhm.
So before Aqora existed, there was QuantX, like a students' initiative from the Polytechnique in Paris. And my co-founders were running in-person hackathons with this, and I joined the very first one. So I used to be president of Push Quantum, and in that role, I joined the hackathon. And was a very great experience back then in October 2021, I think it was in Paris to well, yeah, work really on real use cases with industry players that provided them, which wanted to explore quantum computing. And yeah, I mean, I've been staying in touch with my now co-founders, and uh, the idea was to take kind of these hackathons to the next level. I mean, once because we saw the need just becoming more over time, and the request for companies to explore quantum computing through such initiatives, and then we were starting to think like how we could do this, how we could scale it, this kind of hackathon business, and at the same time looking at what was working in machine learning like 10, 15 years ago, from which we take a lot of analogies for Aqora and inspiration for Aqora. And then we decided that building something like a Kaggle for quantum, where Kaggle is this very popular machine learning or data science competition platform, is what this industry needs, because there is no dedicated space for that. And so we decided to raise the money and start building it from there.
It's That's actually really great. Hackathons are definitely in need of the hour in the quantum space, and since there is only a few number of students who are involved in quantum technology at the moment, even though this year there's been a greater spike in students getting involved, hackathons are definitely a big way to for them to hone their skills as well as for companies to get their marketing out. So that's great that you've started this initiative. I think you answered my next question as well, but I'll still ask you, how is Agora different from other quantum startups?
Yeah, no, I think you summarized it very well, how there's the benefit for the both sides. On the one, for the companies to have a low entrance barrier really into the technology. So because you can kind of just post use case on Aqora and get like after 3 to 6 months high quality presentations of what quantum computing could do for you, while everyone from the quantum community who takes on these kind of challenges can build up a portfolio, see how they rank and translate their skill to real world use cases. How this makes us different from others is, so at least for now, like we don't have a quantum computing engineer in our company. We are more classical software engineers that focus on building the tools and the infrastructure for the quantum experts and quantum engineers to develop their solutions. So we want to be more this infrastructure layers that others can utilize to provide the quantum solutions. And that's how we see ourselves being unique, that um, that others really focus on the quantum aspects,
Hmm.
while we want to understand how we can make them focus on the quantum aspects.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Yeah. Um, and what are the latest developments and products at Aqora?
Oh yeah, that's also a very good question, very timely, because um, so we have, I mean, as I was saying, we have started with this idea of a Kaggle for quantum,
Hmm.
though that's not the full story. We, from that moment we said we want to do the Kaggle of quantum, we already had in mind. There is need for more if you look into machine learning, which now has this very popular community platform, Hugging Face, and actually we want to become something like this Hugging Face for quantum. So what are the latest developments is that we start building our hub more into that direction. So while so far, if you go to Aqora, well, it depends on how we schedule the release and when the podcast is being released, or whether this is already available and live right now. But um, I assume so. So there is actually not only the competitions and hackathons event section on Aqora anymore, but what you will see is a dataset section where you can now share datasets, which is also something that, I mean, we take inspiration from, but where we also really see the need. Because if at the moment you consider the big data sets like MNIST or HamLib, um, it's not too easy to work with them. I know that Penny Lane has a kind of data sets hub, but it's really trimmed down. So if you look at MNIST, the whole data set is like, I think nine gigabyte around, and has a few million rows, while the one on that is hosted and accessible through Penny Lane, which is great. I mean, it's great that they do this, but it only has 50,000 rows. And I think similar for Hamlib, like if you really want to work with Hamlib, it's not too easy to understand the structure and just grab it. So we have this build this infrastructure where these kind of data sets are easily accessible, and easily to work with, and also easy to share with others. So yeah, that's really the latest development on Aqora. And besides that, always I think it's worth to watch out for new competitions or explore existing competitions that we have on our hub, and also events. Either virtual or in person, because there will be coming a few still later this year, as it's the International Year of Quantum, and this is worth to celebrate with these kind of events.
I think you've done it again. You've quite answered all the points that I wanted to ask in the next question. But since you
Oh,
stated,
sorry.
no, no, but since you stated that Aqora is aiming to be like a Kaggle and Hugging Face for quantum, which parts of it aren't translating well to the quantum side from the classical Kaggle and Hugging Face platforms?
Yeah, that's an extremely good question. So I think it's probably, I mean, maybe more, but two kind of answers I would have. The first one is the state of the technology, which is just like, I mean, machine learning. Just in a broader sense, there was machine learning when there was Kaggle, and it could address real world problems, and you could find solutions with it that these companies didn't have before. Just by the fact that there were very smart people, or are still very smart people in this community, and they can really solve hard problems. And this is just at the moment a bit more explorative for the technology, where you can work on small toy problems, but you cannot expect that you would really solve and get a solution that runs on a quantum hardware that will solve your business problem more efficiently than you do today. So it's more like on this level, like really related to the state of the technology, where we can explore its potential in the future, but not develop the solution that will just be applied today in production. We anticipate this will change soon. I mean, there's big players having big announcement, like big plans for the next few years. So we want to be really ready for that and think that it's really also the need then, given their roadmaps, like the roadmaps of quantum hardware providers, the need to explore the technology today. The other thing that we still, I mean, the question like that yeah, how they would translate if you consider the origin of Hugging Face, like how they started to really address a user's pain is there used to be GitHub. I mean, Hugging Face describes itself as the GitHub of machine learning or the GitHub of LLMs. But GitHub was not made for storing large files, um, meaning the weights of just large language models. And basically, they could work around this and, well, make it suddenly possible to work in different SDKs. So transferring this BERT model from um, what was it, TensorFlow to PyTorch. I think basically that was kind of the first use case, and suddenly people could build on top of this and reuse it in their work and had it just much simpler accessible. Um, we anticipate and we see similar things in quantum, but it's not exactly the same. So, I mean, as such as this question is coming, like if that would be the problem, that it's about large files, I mean, Hugging Face would have a solution. But we think, I mean, we think and see that it's much more than that, that we need to have this quantum specific community place where they can share their quantum solutions and their quantum data sets that come just with specific properties. And also maybe just the last point, where these kind of communities also have access to hardware. But I think in quantum, it's even more specific, like how this hardware will be accessible through the users. So I think that's just another kind of difference that we will see, and us not just cloning them, but really taking them as a very good source of inspiration. It's very smart people building these platforms, and then hopefully having the same kind of impact as they do for quantum.
That's great. Aqora is definitely answering a lot of significant questions, catering to the quantum market for sure. I would like to now dive into the different products that Aqora has. So could you walk us through the Q3AS product that you guys own, and how does it benefit using it?
Yeah, right. So first, Q3S, it's our abbreviation for, well, quantum application as a service.
Mhm.
So we didn't want to call it QaaS like a SaaS, just QaaS, because we felt there is one more A needed.
Mhm.
Um, no, it's something, yeah, that it's a bit of, in a way, it's an early experiment from ours, but put into a final product that's can be used. But you will see some changes to this not too far in the future. So what you can do with it is basically, as I was saying, quantum algorithms or quantum applications as a service. Instead of working on the SDK level and building your algorithm or using the QAOA from there and being yourself responsible to schedule it on the right hardware from your code base, we have it kind of as a hosted solution that you can call, that you can parameterize, where you can parameterize your algorithm QAOE or VQE, or define your problem as a max cut and fill in the parameters here, and then have an asynchronous job being executed for you. So I think and how, like, who can benefit from this is really kind of everyone. I mean, probably you need to have more of a technical background, but it's on the one side, it's really for the quantum engineers who know what they're doing and just want to have efficient ways of doing so. But I think it's also a incredibly good way to get into quantum computing more as a with a less quantum background. If you're a classical software engineer, the patterns will look familiar to you, and you can use it a bit more as a black box while still making use of this quantum aspect. To be fair, it's a classically simulated algorithm, but you can already explore quantum computing and understand the kind of algorithms and their capabilities. Yeah, so that's my answer here.
And what types of quantum algorithms can one deploy on this?
Yeah, so at the moment it's QAOA and VQE.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have requests for more, like we are happy to add them. Like this is us providing those algorithms. And you might already, from what I was saying before, guess where this should be going, because the idea is that it's not us providing these algorithms, but more providing this kind of infrastructure such that everyone could provide their algorithms written in their preferred SDK and so on, and then others can consume them, build on top, and utilize them. So yeah, at the moment it's restricted to those algorithms, but we are happy to add more, depending on the kind of algorithm we might need support in implementing, if it's a
Mm-hmm.
more specific one. But the generic ones, we are happy to just plug in as there's demand for them.
And as of now, you're partnered with Push Quantum and Girls in Quantum and among other companies. So how can other companies partner with Aqora?
Yeah, so the ones you're mentioning here, Push Quantum and Girls Are Quantum, really our students. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess Girls in Quantum I can put in the category of a students initiative
Mm-hmm.
partnership. I mean, as we want to be an infrastructure provider for the community, like it's important to be involved with the community. I used to lead Push Quantum myself, so that was not too difficult to get the right connections here. But usually, I mean, the Girls in Quantum I met now on a few events, and we were happy to sign such partnership agreement to support each other's efforts with the resources that we have. Um, but to partner with us, I mean, it's really dropping me a LinkedIn message or an email, I guess. And then we are happy to understand which kind of partnership you would be looking for. If it's that you're a students initiative that wants to run hackathons or wants to have some support in organizing different kind of events like meetups, or needs access to quantum resources, then we are happy to understand those needs and work those things out. And if you're a company that wants to explore quantum computing for your use cases, we're also happy to explore this with you and would bring a challenge online that's centered around your use case. But yeah, at the moment, so I think there is a contact formula on a form on our website,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn, which is usually a good way to get in touch.
Catering to the quantum companies right now, how can hosting competitions on Aqora benefit them?
Yeah. So, as I was saying before, like with the current state of technology, it wouldn't benefit them in their day-to-day operations, I believe. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, we assume this point will happen, and we assume there's a lot of use cases that have not been explored by quantum computing researchers who come more from this bottom-up approach, understanding the math behind the machines, and then abstracting ever more and seeing which kind of problems you can solve with it, and
Mm-hmm.
getting to problems like factorization. Um, but with our competitions, we have this opportunity to explore it from the other side, top down, to say like, if this is a real world use case. This is the real problem that I do have, and I would like to understand, because it's really about that. I would like to understand what, or if and what quantum computing can do for it. So I think it's probably the lowest barrier entrance into quantum computing that exists at the moment. You don't need to sign a partnership with one single provider who has their solution stack in mind, but you can really get it in front of, well, the world of quantum, the global quantum community, and after a time of 3 to 6 months, receive high quality solutions and presentations, usually by very motivated people, either from industry or students, and which will tell you what quantum computing can do today, but will be able to do in the coming years, which is the even more important aspect here, I think. So yeah, it's really a low barrier entrance into exploring quantum computing for your own, very own business use cases with your very specific data sets and your very specific objectives.
So since Aqora has a quantum job board that aggregates roles across research and engineering, which skills do you see are consistently underrated in the field of quantum?
hmm Yeah, so I mean, first of all, maybe I should just mention that we have this job board kind of as a side offer, as we see it as one of the important aspects in like the current state of the technology, also moving forward. But with the play that Aqora roles as kind of a talent development platform in a way, and it's actually always been an important KPI to us on these kind of hackathons, how much hiring was taking place afterwards, which usually does. So it's really, I mean, just want to say this again, like competing in these competitions is not only a way to like develop your skills and I mean do that for yourself and see how you can translate it, but it's an immediate also match kind of between the company providing the use case and the person providing the solution and doing follow-up discussions. I mean, at least people have shown that they can work in this specific domain. And about the skills that are consistently underrated, so also basically just two questions which kind of indirectly answer this, so maybe not directly giving the direct answer to this question, but it's like I think on the one side we see a bit of a shift from I mean to more software, quantum applications, quantum software roles from hardware specific roles. At least the um, share is increasing. And the other, which like I myself also in my role here as a co-founder and CEO of a company that works in quantum is an important aspect of the job board is that it's not only the engineering roles, but you can also have this, or we also have the section for sales and marketing. And I think that's something that we will also see and is currently just underrated a bit in this community, how important it is, or not in the community, but in this like industry to really get people that are not having the background in physics or computer science to understand what this technology is about and be able to well execute their roles to make quantum companies have good marketing, to have good sales, because this is also what we will need in order to have this make this technology successful. Um, so yes, I'm happy that we have this aspect of the quantum jobs, and I would expect that we will see this part growing maybe even the most, like at least in percentage on the overall offers in the coming months and few years.
I completely agree with you. That's the trend that I've been also noticing. More of software related jobs and not too much of focus on the, I mean, students are not really keen on getting involved in the hardware side, but we really need to focus on the hardware side as well. If we don't have any quantum computer, we're not going to be able to make use of the software, right? So that's a big point for sure. And the sales part that you've mentioned is definitely very important to really generate importance and of quantum technology for other companies to start getting involved in it as well, for sure. Um, my next question would be, since you in the previous questions also mentioned that you have led Push Quantum, what features inside Aqora intentionally nurture student communities and first-time contributors to get into industry-ready roles?
Yeah, no, I think that's another very good question, and um, I would say that just by our approach, it's kind of we want to give this power to people in a way, right? So it should be very accessible to anyone to participate in a competition. I mean, well, it's granted you need some quantum computing background, but it should be familiar patterns. It shouldn't require you like any additional overhead or signing a contract with a company, but you can all just do this on Aqora by clicking a few buttons and then have access to real world data and real world use cases that these companies share. So I would say just by nature of Aqora, it's a good fit for well, our idea is to support exactly like smart people. And we strongly believe, like it's really true, we believe that in order to make the quantum advantage happen and in order to make this technology successful, we just need to bring this power to everyone because it could be that for a very specific use case, someone just somewhere in the world would have the right idea with their background to solve it in an efficient way with quantum computing. And I think we see similar in AI at the moment. Like, I mean, well, there's kind of these gatekeep models by OpenAI, but a lot of innovation is happening on Hugging Face and in the open source domain, where open source models are at least at the same level or even outcompeting OpenAI's models on many benchmarks. So yeah, it should be just by nature to be made accessible for anyone without any specific position somewhere, but just you can try it in your spare time and can even start. I think that's another important aspect, not to underestimate. You can start like kind of anonymously. I mean, you don't need to pull up your real profile picture. You can give yourself a nice user handle. And if you want to, there's nothing to lose, right? It's not that your peers would know that you're failing. If you would, I don't assume that people would fail, and everyone should try. Um, so yeah, that's I think what makes it kind of student friendly, student community friendly. And yeah, talking about getting people into industry ready talent. I mean, on the one side, there's just this learning aspects by the competitions. And then as we were just talking before about the quantum.jobs and that we have, which also has this kind of matching aspect. So I think it's overall like it's a great way. It's exactly made for these collaborations between companies and the broader community, which everyone can join.
And if you had to bet on one near-term breakout in quantum technology, where does Aqora see the clearest path to value?
Oh yeah, that's a $1 million question. I mean, just by seeing what's being published and so on, I mean, I think there are some good candidates. I mean, well, the original use case on some kind of molecular simulation, and I think interesting work on like certified randomness that was published earlier this year. We see like yeah, there's actually something that quantum computers can do that classically is hard, and we're really on this edge here, apparently. But what I can say, I mean, outside of this kind of generic statement, I mean, well, it's probably specific enough as like based on my observations, but surprisingly, really surprisingly, one use case that we had on Aqora was actually the first one, clinical trial optimization. Which is a super classical use case. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of um, correlation among your patients' features in your testing studies. And if you can solve this, you really make the drug discovery process more efficient. So there's real money on the table. And it's a surprisingly hard problem classically, which could be a good fit for quantum computers. So I just want to highlight here that there's this concrete example that I myself would not have considered before, well, starting up Cora and then suddenly being approached with this use case by Engine. Um, and I think there's many more like this that we just need to explore more. So I think where we see the clearest path to value is by providing and starting more from the use case perspective. Because I don't think a quantum engineer first has considered, okay, if I have qubits and can do these things, then I can do clinical trial optimization. But it's more like, oh, I have this problem that I need to do clinical trial optimization. Maybe quantum computing can do something for me. And that's how we get to the point where this technology is explored and solutions are being developed for it. So I think the path to value really is in yeah, just try. Let's try as like this global community to explore all these use cases and see how they develop and how these solutions develop. Because suddenly it could be just a small tweak on one of the quantum hardware here, which just enables a use case that surprisingly good fit for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's super interesting as well. Um, what's next for the platform in the next maybe let's say 3 to 5 years?
Oh yeah, we have big plans, really a lot. I mean, with this general direction that I mentioned before, is to provide all these toolings and hub-like platform for the quantum community. Um, yeah, I'm not sure I can be too much more specific than that right now, but it should really be like our ambition is to become the go-to reference for anyone who wants to develop a quantum solution or wants to use an existing quantum solution. So yeah, that's really the next thing for our platform, and it will require lots of work. We have a very good team, so I'm confident we will be able to pull it off.
Since you mentioned in the beginning about your journey of getting into quantum computing, your background includes simulating Google's supremacy experiment in 2019. So what did that teach you?
Yeah, it really taught me a lot of things, I would say. So maybe just to embed this into my personal background back then. So I was finishing my master's after I paused it to co-found another company. It was a bit for me then the question, like, I mean, for me, before starting this first startup, um, the question was whether I want to do a PhD or not, because it had always been kind of my direction. And then it just happened that I would start the startup and go that way. Afterwards, I had the opportunity again to give up academia a try, and I really wanted to do that. So, well, I read about quantum computing, as I was mentioning before, by Google making their announcement of CERC. So I was very eager to do it, but I also really wanted to do something cutting edge. And my background was more in machine learning, so I wanted to do something with machine learning. And what was a good fit then was to simulate some quantum circuits, some quantum programs, with these restricted Boltzmann machines, so the specific kind of neural networks. Yeah, and the Google supremacy experiment was just a good timing, as really the cutting edge experiment back then. So yeah, we just wanted to challenge it in a way because there was also lots of discussion. It really made me like dive into the current state of the technology. I don't think I would have really understood the state of hardware if I would have gone for with a more theoretical um, work. So I was very happy about that. Um, but it also taught me again about myself, that somehow academia wasn't the right thing for me. I really wanted to take it serious. I really took some time to get this thesis right. But even though I enjoyed working with all the individuals, the overall environment felt a bit too isolated and not moving forwards together as a team towards a common goal to build something. So I think that's the other really important aspect that it taught me outside of the quantum specific aspects.
Definitely, I think that's a good point you brought up, that everybody should try a lot of things and then they get to know what they want to get into and what they may not be interested in as well. Um, my next question would be, what convinces a cautious CTO or CFO to move from a pilot to a real project?
Yeah, that's also a very good question, very interesting one. Um, I think um, really what makes them move is not just the solution to the problem statement that they gave, but an outlook to nearby projects, that like how it could translate to similar problems, and also how it would translate into the future if the like understanding how the technology grows. And I think that's really something, or is a very important aspect of also our hackathons and how we designed them, having first a technical phase where technical people are being confronted with a very technical problem statement, providing a solution. And after they finish their phase, the down selected teams or projects had been iterated and worked on by business people who could then take these solutions and re-embed them into the problem statement of these companies and the broader industry of these companies. And that's, I think, really important. And what we should acknowledge is that it's easy to, I mean, well, it's not easy. It's difficult enough, I would say, to focus on the algorithm, but it's easy to forget then about this broader context. But if you really want to create value in this current state of technology, and I think it will also be true later, but that would be moving outside of the technical solution and explaining and making it understandable for non-technical, non-quantum people, how it will evolve as the technology evolves and how it translates to this overall industry. And even if this is not the right problem statement, because it might not be, how a different one could be the better.
And where has quantum or quantum inspired not one yet, and why?
Uh, yeah, I think in many places there has not one yet, right? It's not that, well, we are doing all of our fleet optimizations in logistics or doing our drug discoveries on quantum computing, quantum computers. So I think, I mean, there's room to explore this more, and given the roadmaps of hardware providers and given just this kind of decision process and inertia in especially big corporates and the timeline that they would need to build the expertise and adopt technologies, uh, I think everyone should start today or should have started already. So I think even from that perspective, if it has not, I mean, the definition of one, I want to say, or win, is not only whether it's already deployed in production, but whether it's already being explored. And I think there's just many, many places where it has not won its deserved space and yeah, space given its current state, like of the technology yet.
And what will feel normal in 3 to 5 years that sounds futuristic today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, um, and always hard to predict, right?
Yeah,
So, I guess, I mean, what I can just talk about my assumptions, and I might be
yeah,
very
sure.
wrong, and I will not be quoted and always being nailed down on these
That's no problem.
statements. Yeah, but I mean, the thing that feels normal today that wasn't was futuristic a few years ago is really ChatGPT in our
Mhm.
everyday lives, right?
Yes.
And I'm saying this because like with ChatGPT, the technology or the strength of the technology is really its accessibility. Like, everyone can use it, and it's kind of the interface. Um, with quantum computing, I think that will be different. It will, I mean, maybe ChatGPT will be trained on a quantum computer, and that's something that, well, sounds futuristic today, but might be true. Though, I mean, for the global population with which isn't actively developing AI systems, it wouldn't really make a difference. Because I guess, I mean, well, everyone or a lot of people know about the hype of NVIDIA and basically because AI is being trained on GPUs. But I mean, that's the less interesting aspect. So I think, um, well, what would feel normal that sounds futuristic today, I think is a bit more like abstract in this way. And my hope or my bet also would just be normal that you have calculated something on a quantum computer that a classical computer cannot do. Yeah. I mean, as of today, this is not, I think, given, just also by the fact that we need to understand better what these quantum computers are really capable of and how many problem statements there are that they can solve better. But I would just hope that there will be these things that we would just kind of have an intuition about and just do run on a quantum computer because we suddenly can and we just have not thought about it today.
Yes. I hope that happens. Um, and what is some of the most underrated classical skills that every quantum coder should know?
Mm. Yeah, so a very interesting question, especially in the current environment, because I think the coding, well, or the world of programmers, well, to some degree shifts and to some degree splits at the moment with all these vibe coding. So you don't need to necessarily know all the details and write all the code. But then there's others who say like you really cannot rely on the AI. Um, but yeah, I think, I mean, this aspect is certainly something that everyone should at least try and see how they use for themselves. I think there's two things that I would say, or three. The one is, well, um, I mean, yeah, classical skills is like just classical software engineering. How do you write maintainable code? At least from my experience in university and academia, I mean, I was myself, uh, I myself did it. It's like if you have really the strong focus on your algorithm or your math things, and you start coding, and then you realize, oh no, I need to change something here and there. And it would require a bit more planning to and care and also time, I admit, to write a maintainable code that you can share with others and that creates reproducible research. Um, I mean, I think there's many people who are capable of doing that and who do that, but I think it's just to say that's really an important skill. And the other is also, I mean, yeah, coming to this with maybe some using some version control system and so on. But this might be a bit technical and my very specific perspective on it right now is what we're building with Aqora. The other is communication. I mean, quantum computing is highly inaccessible to my mother, and still I somehow need to explain her what I'm doing. And I think that's true on this level, but it's even between researchers who maybe have different backgrounds, the one from computer science, the other from physics, or just within your domain and within your very strong focus, you still need to be able to communicate to others what you're doing. And yeah, that's always important.
Do you have a favorite book or a research paper or video or a course that you'd want to suggest to quantum enthusiasts?
Yeah, actually, so yeah, I mean to keep it short, what really helped me and how I like learning, there's this creator on YouTube. I hope I say his name right now. Three blue, one brown, or is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
three
yeah.
brown, one blue? No, I think three blue, one brown.
Yes, yes.
Um, who really creates extremely great videos
Mhm.
that helps you understand and develop an intuition of linear algebra. And I think he now even has some quantum specific ones where he explains like Grover's algorithm.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, I think that's really important because the books, like, I mean, the standard ones, they're also good, but they're a bit more dry. And I think he is really, I mean, in this video format, able to show you these transitions and really make that give you a image in your head that you don't have from, I don't know, just looking at bracket notation and looking at matrices. So that's that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, I would also suggest viewers and learners to go through that YouTube channel for sure. Um, what quantum technologies or research directions are you most excited about right now?
Uh, well, I mean, I'm a computer scientist, and I like just, I mean, having access to hardware. So, like what I want to say is compute. What I want to say is, so I'm not so much into this quantum sensing and quantum communication, even though I understand there's like good progress in those. So what I'm really excited about is the fact that we have still so many different modalities that are in the race to really make quantum advantage happening, like from superconducting qubits to trapped ions to neutral atoms and photonics. So I would say it's not that I have a specific direction in these that I'm excited about, but I'm excited about the fact that there's really this race with different players doing the same technologies and players doing other technologies. And I'm extremely curious to see, well, I don't think there will be a single winner, but like how this will look like in 3 to 5 years, if it has all consolidated or if we will continue to have these different modalities.
Yeah, that's a great point you brought up. I think everybody is looking out for that as well. Um, this will be my last question. What has surprised you the most in the last 2, 3 years about the progress of quantum technology?
Oh yeah, that's also a very good question. I think so. Maybe first, like I think what I also perceive with others when they enter the field, and it was a bit true for myself, is so you're very excited about quantum computing, and you see some of the uh, well public communication where it seems that we have quantum computers that can do things that you cannot do classically, and you start this, and then there's this bit of disappointment where you realize, oh no, we're not there yet, or maybe even if we build the hardware, there's still a bit of question like, is there use cases outside of factorization? Um, but yeah, I'm very optimistic. There's many more, and I mean, there's already today more. And that I think can at this at one point feel slow because Google made their supremacy experiment in 2019 with I think it was 54 qubits, and then last year December they had this like I mean it was I think the same experiment again on their new generation, and like from the outside like where's the progress on the application level, like you don't see it. But then suddenly, I mean, you realize that what they did in the second experiment also was to build logical qubits on their machines and have them. And that's like a big breakthrough. And I think there's others where we thought, oh, this might take much longer. And well, just looking forward, what is these things that just appear to be very, very quick is we have these claims of quantum advantage now on the horizon. We had, I think, the IBM roadmap which the community can be very happy about and very grateful that IBM is doing that and doing it for some years now because they have delivered on it surprisingly well. And if they have it on the roadmap, I have high confidence, or at least confidence, I have high confidence that it will do so, also showing the quantum advantage in this next short time period. And what I wanted to say here is um, with that specifically is in their roadmap. I think they first had the quantum advantage demonstration for 2027, and then a bit earlier this year moved it to 2026. And that's like, well, I mean, initially I thought like, well, I would assume 2027 is already a goal that you set for yourself, and that if you have it, then like that's amazing. But if you don't achieve it, I don't think anyone would have been or would be like too disappointed because it would
Yeah.
be more the expectation. But then being that ambitious and move that forward, that's a strong move, I think, and I'm very excited to see it happen. But this really makes me feel this accelerating a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with all the developments this year. Sure. So,
Yeah, correct.
thank you for taking the time today, James, to have this podcast with me, and for all the valuable information that you've given us, provided us to the students, viewers, investors, companies, businessmen, everybody. Um, and I hope to catch up with you soon, and we can have another podcast sometime soon once there are more updates and developments in Aqora as well. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It really was a pleasure, and yeah, looking forward to well, the podcast, and then yeah, of course, also to future conversations. Thank you. It was a very pleasant experience.